Hey, this is just going to be a quick video of me kind of talking over a sped up CAD video, just describing kind of my thoughts behind everything that I'm doing here for the design for the Quark. So right now what's going on is I'm designing the knob that goes on the side, and I decided that I wanted the outside to be knurled so that it could easily be gripped, and also I just really think knurling is cool. So I added knurling to outside, and there's no option in NX to create knurling, so you have to do it by hand with a swept kind of feature. And then there's also an arm that I created here right now that's holding the knob in place, and there's a bearing kind of press fit inside the knob as well to make it turn smoothly. What I'm creating here is the PCB. So this part kind of holds all the electrical components and connects them together, and creates all of the electronic portion of the device. So just doing a little fine tuning of that arm. The idea behind the arm was that I wanted the knob to be able to be turned and clicked. So that knob swings kind of on a pivot and hits a push button, so that you can push the knob in to do like a click to select things. But it can also be used to rotate the knob around. So that bearing that's inside the knob kind of sits on that extrusion on the arm. So here I'm adding kind of some of the electrical components. That gray part is the ESP32 itself, and then there's also the SD card holder. And right now I'm modeling a temperature sensor, temperature and pressure, because I wanted the device to be able to measure those types of things as well. And then putting the buttons in for controls. This is the D-pad that I'm doing right now. It took me, I wanted to try to get those buttons as close as possible to each other while still being in like a square D-pad pattern. And it took me a second to figure out the best way to do that, but I did figure it out eventually. I moved the temperature sensor to the front to try to save space a little bit, so that I could put more sensors on the back if I wanted to. And then I decided on a kind of 3D printed edge design. So like there would be kind of a case around the edges that's 3D printed, but on the top and bottom there would be kind of flat acrylic laser cut panels. So these are the panels I'm putting in right now, designing a hole so that the screen can poke through and the buttons can poke through as well. And I believe these holes that I'm putting in right now are for the temperature and pressure sensor, so it can get an accurate reading from the air. And then these are the holes for the buttons. So the D-pad is kind of looks like some archways. I kept it square, and the buttons are also kind of, one's a big one that's for like the select button, and then the back button is a smaller one as well. And it's kind of in like a normal controller pattern. I decided also that the buttons would look a little bit different for each button, so that you can kind of feel with your hand which button your finger's on, so that you can kind of press it without looking. So I made the large select button kind of concave, like large and concave, and then the back button has a little dimple in it. And then the D-pad kind of, they also have little dimples, but for the top and the bottom it's kind of a straight kind of offset, and for the left and the right it's an arrow. So right now I'm creating the kind of side cover, for the top side cover for the device. This is that 3D printed part that goes on the edges, and that kind of clear acrylic piece sits in there. And I thought what I wanted was a device, kind of a look where you could see what's going on inside, because it's for, it's like an assistant for engineers. So I think engineers appreciate what's going on inside things, and I always appreciate it when kind of you can see through a device and see, oh, what's going on in there? How does this knob work? How does the circuit board work? How is everything mounted together? I enjoy that in a product, and so that's what I wanted to add to this. So I'm adding a cutout for that knob, and then here's me playing around with like the kind of 3D view, and then I'm gonna 3D print a model of it, so that's me doing that. Okay, so in the end, this is what we kind of ended up with. It's kind of the same as what you saw in the video, but we have these two parts are 3D printed, and then the acrylic panels on the top and the bottom, which you can see through, and you can see the knob and the arm and the ESP32 board and the micro SD. And then these two buttons, this is the one right here that you can push in this knob, and then it'll click that by swinging the arm around this pivot here. And then I also added a button here on the side that I'm going to plan to have as like a power button, something like that. And then we got the front-facing buttons, the concave kind of select button, the dimpled back button, and then these D-pad buttons with the cutouts for the temperature and pressure. Then we have the screen front and center, just mounted behind this little acrylic panel. And I might add like a screen bezel right here so you don't see like the circuit board and the ribbon connector of the screen. That might be a good idea as well. But other than that, this is the design. This is what I came up with. Thanks for watching.